students, welcome to first episode of Motion in a Straight Line. Here in this episode you will learn the meaning of frame of reference, the various type of motions, the meaning of distance, displacement, average speed, average velocity, instantaneous velocity and the numericals with the same topic. So let's start the lecture. Motion. What is motion? So an object is said to be in motion if it changes its position with time with respect to its surrounding. WRT here it means with respect to. So that we already know that an object, whenever the object changes its position with respect to time, then it is what the object is said to be in motion, and when the object's position does not changes with time, then the object is said to be in rest. So here just we are talking about the object, but what type of object here we are considering? So we are considering the point object. So what is point object? In physics, the object is said to be point object if its size is very small as compared to the distance travelled by that object in a reasonable duration of time. So suppose if the size of object, doesn't matter if the size of object is too large, but if the distance covered by that object is much larger than the size of object, then the object is said to be a point object. So point object doesn't mean that the object that seems to be look like a point object. Even with respect to sun, earth can be considered as a point object. Why earth can be considered as a point object? Because when it revolves around the sun, then the distance traveled by the earth is too large as compared to its size. So earth can be considered as point object. So the point object, the meaning of point object means if the size of the object is much smaller than the distance it moves or the distance it travels, then the object is said to be a point object. So next is rectilinear motion. What is rectilinear motion? The study of motion of object along a straight line, that is what called rectilinear motion. What we just have to study in this chapter, motion in a straight line. So what is reference point? So here in physics, when we are just studying the motion of object, then we need the reference point, because since your object is in motion, and if you want to specify its position, how can you specify the position of object? By choosing a reference point. So how can we choose a reference point? Reference point is a set of rectangular coordinates that consist of three mutually perpendicular axes. That is what your reference point. Reference point meaning, so you have three mutually perpendicular axes, and the point of intersection of the three mutually perpendicular axes, that is considered as a reference point. Why reference point is required? Reference point is required to specify the position of object. So what we have studied, in order to specify the position of object, we need what? A coordinate axis. We need a coordinate axis in order to specify the object, right? But in order to describe an event, we need a frame of reference. I just tell you the example how the frame of reference is required to describe the event and why it is needed. Suppose a car is moving. What I have observed, the car is moving, or the person who is sitting here with respect to ground, he is observing the car is moving. He will say the car is moving, but the person who is sitting inside the car, he is saying no, car is at rest. Okay, so who is correct? with respect to he is correct and this person is also correct. Why? Because they are observing the event with a different frame of reference. He is observing the event with respect to the frame of reference that is attached with him or that is attached with the ground. So what he is observing, the coordinate axis is changing with respect to time and he is saying the car is in motion. But here he is describing the event with respect to the frame of reference attached with him. So what he is observing, none of the coordinate axis changing with time. So he is describing his event that he is at rest. So the both person are correct here, but the thing is that they are observing the event, they are explaining the event with a different frame of reference. So we can say that the coordinate system along with the clock constitute a frame of reference. So here in this chapter we are just describing the motion without knowing the cause of it. What is the cause of motion, that we are not explaining here, we are describing the motion of object. So that branch of physics in which we describe the motion of object without knowing its cause, then that branch of physics is called kinematics. So what we are studying now, that is kinematics. So now we have studied there are three coordinate axes that are specifying the position of object with respect to time. If none of the coordinate axis changes with respect to time, then we just say the object is at rest. And if the coordinate axis is changing with respect to time, then we say the object is in motion. But out of three coordinate axes, if only one coordinate axis out of three coordinate axes, if only one is changing with respect to time, then we just say the motion is in one dimension. We say one dimension motion, that out of three coordinate, if only one is changing with respect to time. For example, the motion of a train in a straight railway track, or if just we are moving in a straight line, so car is moving along a straight road or along a straight line, then the motion is said to be one dimension motion, because here out of the three coordinate, only one coordinate specify the position of object with respect to time. The two-dimension motion, out of three coordinate, if the two coordinates specifying the position of object with respect to time, then it is called two-dimension motion. For example, the insect crawling over the ground, over the floor or over the ground, that is an example of two-dimensional motion. So here if the insect is crawling, so he can crawl anywhere. So the insect has two dimension, two axes. So if we can specify the position of insect in two coordinate axes, so it is the motion is here is called two-dimension motion. And three-dimension motion, if all the three coordinates specify the position of object with respect to time, then then it is called three-dimension motion. For example, flying aeroplane or flying bird that can travel anywhere. So in order to specify the position, we need the three coordinate axes x, y, z. Here we need only the two coordinate axes. In order to specify the position, we need two coordinate axes, and here we need only one coordinate axis in order to specify the position of object. So in this way we can classify the motion in one-dimension motion, two-dimension motion and three-dimension motion. So the other example of two-dimension motion, you can even consider the uniform circular motion, that is also the two-dimension motion. Okay, so the earth revolves around the sun, moon revolves around the earth, that is also the example of the two-dimension motion. So motion in a straight line, that we know that motion in a straight line, that is the one dimension motion. So here we have to study about the position axis and time axis. Here what I have drawn, that is the position axis. Why it is the position axis? Because at different point it is describing that the position of object, that here the object has covered the 20 kilometer, here the object has covered 30 kilometer. Okay, so the origin of the position axis, so this is, I have considered this as a reference point, and I am describing the motion that the object covered 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer, 40 kilometer, etc. So the origin of the position axis can be shifted to any point on the position axis. So this origin can be shifted anywhere, so we can make our reference point anywhere. The distance measured to the right of the origin, suppose this is my origin, so the distance that is measured to the right of the origin, that is taken as positive, and the left of the origin is taken as negative. So whatever the reference point, from that reference point I need to consider that the distances, whether it is positive or negative. Suppose if I consider here, I am considering this as positive because this is my origin and that is on the right side of the origin. So if I consider this as a reference point, then this will become the negative side and this will become my positive side. So whatever the distance I measure to the right of the origin, origin of the position axis is taken as positive, and the left of the origin of the position axis taken as negative. Okay, the distance between the two locations on the position axis does not change due to the shift in the origin of the position of it. If suppose by chance if I shift the origin of the position axis, then also in that case the distance between the two locations on the position axis does not change, and that is also true for the time axis. That what I have drawn is the position axis, that is describing the position. Same way I can draw the time axis, which describes the time of the object, that at what time object covered 20 kilometer, at what time object has covered 30 kilometer, this way. So that is true all for the time axis also. So let me take an example to explain you the position axis. So here I have taken an example. So O is the origin that I have taken as a reference point. It means that body had started from this point O. Body has started at this point, and after some time body reaches at point A. Body has covered a distance of 80 kilometer. Then body reaches at B. It covers from the origin, body has covered a distance of 100 kilometer, and then body reaches at C and the body covers a total distance of 140 kilometers. Okay, so here I have considered O as origin. Now I am going to shift my origin. Now I have taken this is my origin here. Okay, so now I am going to shift my origin. Now I have taken B as my origin. So if I consider B as origin, so I just told you that the distance that is covered, the distance that I will take on the right side of the origin, that I have considered positive, and the left side of origin will take as negative. So here all the distances are measured on the right side of the origin. That's why all the distance are measured as positive. But here what I have taken this as origin. Okay, if I have this as origin and I have to describe the same situation, then how can I describe? So if this has origin, then body when reaches at point C, then body will at a distance of positive 40 kilometer. Why? What is the distance between the B and C? And I already told you the original distance with the change in origin, the original distance between two points remain unchanged. So if I consider B as O, B as 0, then the C should be she should be situated at a distance of 40 kilometer. Why? Because distance between B and C is how much? 40 kilometer. So that if this is 0, this should be positive 40 kilometer. And since A is the difference between the A and C is 20 kilometer. So here also the difference between A and B should be 20 kilometer. So if this is 20, so I have to take this as minus 20. I have to take this as minus 20 because all the distance that we measured on the left side of the origin, that we take negative. But what would be the magnitude of this distance? This distance is only 20 kilometer. This distance is what? 40 kilometer, and here also the distance remains same. And what would be the distance between B and O? That is how much? 100 kilometer. So here also O and, sorry, this is not O, this is the distance between O and B should be 100 kilometer. And since we are taking this O on the right side of the origin, so here the O point is what? Not origin, B is the origin, and this point is on the not on the right side, on the left side of the origin. That's why I have taken this as negative. But what would be the distance between B and O? That is again 100 kilometer. So now that is clear to you that when we change the origin or when we shift the origin, then the distance between the 2 points remains unchanged. And the distance that we are taking on the left side of the origin, that we consider as negative, and on the right side of the origin, that we consider positive. So similarly, we can explain the time axis also. So here in time axis, I have considered that body is at point O, A, B, C at time t equals to 0, t equals to 2 hour, t is equals to 3 hour, 5 hour. Here I have considered this as O as origin, O as origin. T is equal to doesn't mean that time is 0, it means that this is our starting position. This is our starting position. And after suppose at 9 a.m. the body is at point O, so that I have considered as origin. Now at 11, after 2 hour body reaches at point A, after 3 hour from the origin body reaches at point B, after 5 hour from point O the body reaches at point C. Okay. So here we have considered, all the time is taken on the right side of the origin, that why I have taken it as positive. And here t doesn't mean that the time is 0. This is our starting position. Now I have changed the origin. Now my origin is B now. So my origin is B now. So what is the difference between the time taken by the B to reach point C? That is how much? 2 hours. So here if t is 0, so here we just consider it is positive 2 hours. And what is the time gap between A and B? Which is 1 hour. So I will take here it is 1 hour, but I will take minus 1 because this time is taken on the left side of the origin. Time does not, this negative sign doesn't mean that time is negative. It means that only just we are considering this, that point is considered on the left side of the origin. And similarly, the O is at a time of 3 hours because the time between O and B is total 3 hours. So this can consider as a 3 hour. So now we are just seeing that after even shifting the origin, the time interval between the 2 points does not, the 2 specific point does not changes. Next is path length and displacement. Path length sometimes refers as distance. So what is path length? The actual length of the path traversed by the particle or object in a given interval of time, that is what called path length. and displacement is the shortest distance between the initial and the final point. That is what called displacement. For example, suppose if the particle is traveling around the circumference of this square. Okay, suppose the particle starts from A and it goes towards B, C and D. Okay, so if suppose the length of this is the length of this square is 1 kilometer, so this is also 1 kilometer. So if I say at point C, when particle reaches at point C, then what would be the path length covered by the particle? When the particle starts from A and the particle reaches at point C, then path length covered by the particle will be how much? The path length covered by the particle will be the AB plus VC, which is equals to 2 kilometer. That is what the path length covered by the particle. That is actual length of the path traveled by the particle. That is what path length. And if I say displacement of the particle, so displacement of the particle is the shortest distance between the initial and final point. So the shortest distance between the initial and final point is your displacement. So what is the displacement here? This is AC. And how can you find the displacement AC here? Here you know that this AC is the diagonal of the square, which is equals to root 2 into side. Okay, so that is root 2 kilometer or 1.14 kilometer. That is the displacement covered by the particle here in this case, and the path length or the distance covered by the particle is 2 kilometer. Okay, so here we can take one more example to explain you the difference between, or what is the actual meaning of the path length and displacement. Suppose this is the origin. If I take it at this point is, if I refer as origin O, A, B, C. Okay, here suppose here the particle reaches when the particle reaches at point A, suppose it covers a 20 kilometer, then 30 kilometer, then suppose it covers here it covers 50 kilometer. Okay, now if I tell you that the particle goes from O to C and then come back from C to B, then what would be the distance and displacement of the particle? Here in this case, when the particle moves from O to C and then comes back from B to C to B, then the distance, the total distance here from O to C and then from C to B, the total distance covered by the particle will be 50 kilometer plus here from C to B the distance is 20. So the total distance covered by the particle will be 70 kilometer. But if I say the displacement, so the displacement is what? The shortest distance between the initial and final point. So this is the initial position and this is the final position. This is the final position. So what is the shortest distance between the initial and final position? That is what? 30 kilometer. Or you can find in this way that from O to C, particle, the direction of particle here in this way. So you just say plus 50 and then from C the particle changes its direction. So here we can say here it is here it is minus 20. So that is what? The 30 kilometer. So here we able to know one more thing, that distance does not depends on direction, whether the body goes in this direction or in the other direction. Distance does not changes, it will remain same. Okay, but the displacement depends on the direction. So if the particle go in the direction from O to C, then we take the distance, if we take the distance as positive, and then when the particle reverses its path and changes its direction just opposite to that of original path, then just we are taking the distance negative. Here we have not taken the distance negative, here we are taking the distance negative. So that comes 30 kilometer. So those type of quantity which depends only on the magnitude, not on the direction, those quantities called scalar quantity. And those quantity which depends on both magnitude as well as the direction, the quantity is called vector quantities. So that is what we can just define the meaning of displacement and distance. So the difference between the distance and displacement, distance is what? The actual path length traversed by the object in a given time interval, and displacement, what we have studied, it is the shortest distance between the initial and final point. That what is the definition that we have studied in distance and displacement, that is also called the path length. And we have also studied that this is a scalar and that is a vector quantity, means it depends, it has only magnitude, it does not depends on direction, and it depends on direction. And since it does not depends on direction, so whenever just we are taking in any direction, distance comes always positive. But displacement can be your positive, negative or 0. Displacement can be your positive, negative or 0. The displacement comes negative. Suppose if you are starting from this point O and you just travel a distance of 30 kilometer and come back to its original position, then in that case your distance will be how much? 60 kilometer, but your displacement will be how much? That is 0. So here comes the displacement is your 0. So the displacement can be 0. So distance may be, distance is always greater than or equals to displacement. So if the your distance may be equal to displacement, when distance is equal to displacement, when body moves in a straight line in a given direction, in only a one direction, body moves in a straight line in uniform motion, then your magnitude of distance and displacement is equal when body moves in straight line. But it always either greater than or equal to displacement, and displacement is always either equal to or less than distance. It never becomes greater than distance. Okay, and since your distance is what? Your path followed. So it depends, distance is the path followed, or distance depends on the path length. So it tells about the type of path followed. But and since displacement is what? The shortest distance between the initial and final point, so that does not describe about the type of path followed, but it describes the type of path followed. Position time graph. So here if I plot the position of object on y-axis and time on x-axis, the position of the object on y-axis and time on x-axis. Okay, so if I just plot like this, here what does this graph signify? This graph signify the position of object is not changing with respect to the time. Here the time changes but the position remains same. So this graph tells that the object is at rest. Here the graph says object is at rest. Okay. Now, if I just draw the graph here, this is again the position and this is the time. If I draw the graph like this, if I draw the graph like this, so what does this signify? This signify here the position is changing with respect to time. The time is changing and the position is changing, but the graph is linear. This signify that the body travel equal distance in equal interval of time. The position changes, the equal position changes with the equal interval of time. This signifies the graph of uniform motion. Body is moving in a uniform motion. Okay. And if I just draw a position time graph, okay, position time graph in such a manner, like it is like a zigzag or any, like this way, this signify the position is changing with respect to time, but not with equal amount. Here the graph will, here your motion is called non-uniform motion. So what is non-uniform motion? When a body travels equal distance in unequal interval of time, or if the body travel unequal distance in equal interval of time. So that type of motion is non-uniform motion. Uniform motion, body travels equal distance in equal interval of time, and body at rest, when body does not changes its position with respect to time. So this is what the position time graph with different motions. So the next is very small concept, average velocity and average speed. Average velocity is what? The net displacement, the change in displacement and the ratio of the change in displacement and change in time. Suppose if the body is at a point x1 and it changes its position to x2, it is at t1 particle is at x1, at t2 particle is at x2, then what is average velocity? Average sign we just denote V bar. The average is denoted by this bar. So that is what? Change in position and the change in time. That is displacement per unit time. That is what call your average velocity. And average speed means the ratio of the total path length with respect to total time. That gives you the value of average speed. So we have studied average velocity and average speed, that is total displacement per unit time or the total distance per unit time. Now the average speed and average velocity tells you about how fast your object is moving in a particular time interval. That does not gives you any idea about the velocity or speed of the object at a particular instant of time. So at a particular instant of time, when it means that when your time is infinitesimally small, the velocity that gives you idea about the speed at a particular instant of time, that is what your instantaneous speed, that is your instantaneous speed. The limit of the average velocity when your time is infinitesimally small. So that is what average velocity, and you can define average velocity, the velocity at a particular instant of time. That is what your average velocity. So okay, so basically when you just you will see the speedometer of your car or speedometer of your vehicle determines the instantaneous velocity, your instantaneous velocity. So that describe your velocity at a particular instant. And average velocity gives you idea about a fixed interval of time, that does not gives you the velocity at a particular instant. And there is a one condition under which your instantaneous velocity becomes equals to average velocity. So this is the condition when body is moving under uniform motion. Means when body moving in uniform motion, it covers equal distance in equal interval of time, then your average velocity becomes equals to instantaneous velocity. So here we can express the formula of instantaneous velocity is when the time is infinitesimally very small, then the instantaneous velocity is delta x by delta t when your delta t approaches to 0 or it is very small. That is just we are describing for a very particular instant of time. Let's see some problems. So here is a problem. A car is moving along a straight line OP. So this is a straight line OP. This is O, this is P. Car is moving and it moves from O to P in 18 seconds. Means car travels a distance from O to P which is 360 meter away, that travels in 18 seconds, and return from P to Q, and then it comes back to P to Q in 6 seconds. What are the average velocity and average speed while going from O to P? So case 1. Case 1 is what? From O to P. From O to P. Okay, when the particle goes from, the car goes from O to P, we have to calculate average speed and average velocity. What is average speed? That is total distance by total time. So the total distance the particle takes from O to P, that is 360, and the total time is how much? 18 seconds. So this is how much? 20 meter per second, that is average speed. And what about your average velocity? Average velocity, we know that when body moves in a straight line, then the average speed and average velocity is same. Also we can say that the average velocity is total displacement. So when particle moves from O to P, what is the total displacement? That is only 360, and the time is how much? 18. So here the average velocity also comes 20 meter per second. So case 2. Case 2 says that the particle moves from O to P and back to Q. Okay, so O to P and back to Q. O to P and back to Q. Here the average speed is how much? Total distance upon total time. So total distance from O to P is how much? 360, and total distance from P to Q is how much? 120, and the total time is from O to P is how much? 18, and the total time from P to Q is how much? 6, right? So when you add this, you will get how much? 480 upon 24, which is how much? 20 meter per second. Second, average velocity. So average velocity, what is the net displacement covered by the particle when moves from O to P and then come back from P to Q is? From O to B it is 360, and from P to Q, since it changes the direction, so it will be minus 240, minus how much it is? 120 upon 18 plus 6. So which is how much? This will be 240 upon 24, which is 10 meter per second. So here in second case, the average velocity becomes 10 meter per second. So here is the question: a man walks for 1 minute at a speed of 1 meter per second and another 1 minute at a speed of 3 meter per second. Then find its average speed. We know the formula for average speed is total distance by total time. So here we have to find the total distance and total time and just find out the ratio of the two. So here what is the what is the distance, speed 1? The speed 1 will be, we can say, moving with 1 meter per second. The second speed is 3 meter per second, and time 1 is 1 minute and the time 2 is 1 minute. So here we have to convert this into seconds, okay, because we have to take the system in SI units. Now we cover the distance S1, that is V1 into T1. Velocity into time is what? Distance, simple. So the distance will be how much? The distance will be 1 into 60, which is 60 meter. Distance 2 will be 3 into 60, which is 180 meter. Now we can easily calculate the total distance. The total distance is how much? 60 plus 180, which is equals to 240 meter. Okay. And the total time is how much? The total time is 60 plus 60, which is equals to 120 seconds. Now you can calculate, you got total distance, total time. Now you can calculate very easily what is the average speed. So average speed is how much? Average speed is total distance by total time, which is equals to how much? 2 meter per second. That is the average speed of the man. So here in this episode we have finished the concept of distance, displacement, average velocity, average speed. So the rest part of the chapter we will covering in the next episode. So keep practicing.